This is Alice revisiting Wonderland 13 or so years after she went down the first time.
She's revisiting these old characters that she thinks is in a dream or not in a dream, but she has memories of them.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum, you have the Red Queen, you have the White Queen, you have the Cheshire Cat, Mad Hatter, all the same characters. It's just, this is kind of a refinding for Alice.
So I think the audience will feel the same way, because it's just like, you know, these are old friends that you're running into again, and it's really kind of fun.
Tim's approach to sound, especially in this film, has been paying close attention to detail. He is very interested in textures, and because Alice is going into a world that we've never seen before, he really wants that world to seem new and special.
You know, as you go from the main world up above to down below, or wherever, you know, she falls into Wonderland, or Underland they call it, the door opens and all of a sudden the sound of the place is exotic, and we used a lot of textures to create the different areas, and you know, between the Red Queen's palace and the White Queen's palace, and some are desolate and some are full of life, and they're really unique environments, and Tim was very involved in how we created those.
He's also very conscious about rhythm, which is one of the great things about Tim's films, is everything in the soundtrack is very rhythmic. It's a subtle thing that he does, but you know immediately when something's not working, it's usually because the rhythms aren't working. And once you find that, then everything starts to fit together and it works really nicely.
He has a style visually, and he also has a style sonically. I think every door squeaks in Tim Burton films. There's no oil or something in there. He's gonna kill me for saying that, but it's a fun style to me, and there's very specific things he is repeated in his films a little bit sonically. You know, like I say, doors creak, and there's thunder cracks that are, you know, B-movie thunder cracks, and it's fun stuff, and they play key parts in the film.
Working with Tim on 2 previous films, I know he doesn't like to loop at all, if he can help it. The thing I respect about Tim, it's always about performance. So if the production sounds better than the ADR, we're going to use the production. And I am totally comfortable with that. In this film, we paid attention a lot to, especially with Alice, to her breathing and her just constant efforts. We always wanted to have a connection to her in all the scenes. And so much of the movie is shot in a studio that a lot of the recordings didn't always have a sort of presence of her there. So in post, Mia was brought back in and asked to do all of her breathing and all of her efforts and all that stuff. And we used that quite a lot in the film, just to always keep you connected to her character. You have all these creatures that talk. You know, you have rabbits and you have big creatures and little creatures and mouses and things like that, speaking English language. And my first thought when we started, I thought, God, I hope this works.
All the CG characters, and had to give them a life, you know. Not only is the actors who play those parts, but there's the breathing in between and the little movements and the other little things that just sell the animation, really. It just helps connect and ground it, I think.
Not all of it. Oh no, stop. No, don't do that.
Kate!
Oh dear.
In this particular film, we came out in 6.1 discrete. We mixed the film, meaning we have a left, center, right, front discrete, and a left, center, right, back discrete, and a subwoofer track, which is the 0.1. You can be much more specific about where things are going and where the audience can sense those things, and especially in 3-dimensional screening. We did do a separate 3D mix.
The difference between the 2D mix and the 3D mix especially is quite striking. It's one of the first films I've seen in 3D that I think works in 3D, and it works better than it works in 2D. When we first saw the 3D in scenes, you just went, whoa, I never saw that before, because suddenly you have all this depth and there's more things to look at, and the story is even more developed and deeper as a result. So with the dialogue, I did a lot more panning than I would normally do. It also allowed us to do this great thing where Alice's real world will seem kind of plain. I don't think I panned any dialogue at all, so it's very sort of straightforward, traditional sort of mix, and then as soon as we get into Underland or Wonderland, everything starts to move, and it becomes much more interesting. You connect with characters immediately. You find your head sort of moving with the 3D image.
We looked at the 3D mix that we did with the 2D picture, sometimes it doesn't sound quite right. You're just like, wait a minute, it sounds kind of weird. It shouldn't be doing that. But put the glasses on, 3D, it's like, okay, that makes sense. It really does make sense. What I enjoy about film mixing is that it's a creative process. So you're creating sounds, you're creating a whole landscape of the sound of a movie. And so in creating that landscape, including the music we're putting in, to the sound effects and the dialogue and how much reverbs we're putting in, creating spaces in the rooms, those parts are really fun and exciting for me.
It's just great. It was a great experience. Hopefully people will walk away with a feeling of having been in Wonderland.